Let's talk about how Jack Schlossberg is now trying to run for Congress. Well, what's the problem with that? You say he's a Kennedy, and they all run for a public office at some point. What's wrong with Jack? What isn't wrong with Jack?
These are the issues that matter. I love to party, but I've just never been clubbing.
He is a big clown. He is the clowniest of all the clowns. He's the king of Clown Town. Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise. So today we're going to do kind of a Friday News Roundup-esque type style. I'm debating taking Friday off because, after Thanksgiving, we always do Friday as our decorate the inside of the house. We've already decorated the outside of the house. And let me just say, my husband knows what he's doing. It is spectacular. I did, however, climb to the top of this tree, and this is all my doing over here. So I gotta get my accolades where I can. But my husband's really big into the decorating of the house for Christmas. And so it's lights all over the place. And he has spent a fortune on them. So every year we have to do it to make up for the fact that we've spent so much money on lights for the house. But that is the weekend before Thanksgiving. And then the weekend after Thanksgiving, we do inside the house. Except I did, as you can see, take liberties in here. But you guys, can we just take a moment for the stocking? Okay, I found this at just look at it. Just look at it. I found this at an antique store. Look at this 1940s perfection. I ask you, is there anything more beautiful? Now, usually I'm not like super all about the gaudy, but at Christmas time, all the vintage finds. Anyway, all this to say, let's get in our little chat show now because I am not going to commit here or there about a Friday News Roundup, okay? Just because it is Thanksgiving. And on my phone, when I open up my phone, this is really lame, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. Let me just have a vulnerable moment with you. On my phone, when I open it up, I have a picture of my family and it says, real life matters more. And so I just have to kind of remind myself, I do work online. And it's really easy because I always have access to this on my phone, in my hand. It's really easy for me to constantly prioritize this work because it's always with me. And I have to remind myself, no, a normal person would take Thursday and Friday off. A normal person would say, it's the holiday season. Spend some time with your family. And am I not always saying to you guys, eat good food, spend time with your family, spend time with your loved ones. And then I don't even take my own advice. It's kind of trashy. So anyway, all that to say, we're going to do a Friday News Roundup-esque here, just in case I don't get to it on Friday. I've already let you know it may not happen. That was a really long intro. Let's just get into it. Okay, here is a topic that we really need to get into. This may not be something that all of you knew about before, but you're going to be interested in it once I tell you. There are, of course, about 50 bajillion comedy podcasts. Everybody thinks that because they can put together a set and do stand-up comedy that you want to hear them all the time. And so every comedian has his own podcast. And a lot of these podcasts came up because Joe Rogan, who, can run a podcast and have some pretty interesting people on his podcast, is not a very funny comedian, but is a very famous comedian. Well, he's very famous. I don't know that he's so famous for his comedy, but he's obviously a very famous person. And he threw a bone to a lot of these other comedians coming up and would feature them on his podcast. And so they, rode his coattails to fame. And one of those people was Andrew Schulz. And Andrew Schulz got a little bit of fame because he used YouTube to sort of build his career. And then he had a podcast. And because of his association with Joe Rogan, people gave him the time of day. He is not a hilarious comedian. He has a couple of things that are funny, a couple of jokes that land, but he does a lot of crowd work, which I think is it's not comedy. He does a lot of crowd work, but one of the things that I think is interesting about Andrew Schulz is that he really loves to talk, and he really loves to, dissect why a person would do a thing. And so on his podcast, which was originally supposed to be a sports podcast, on his podcast Flagrant, he dissects pop culture, different famous people, current events. They've had all, they run the gamut on the guests they've had. They've had political people on, they've had celebrities on. Everybody has been on this podcast Flagrant. And his co-host is a guy named Akash Singh. Akash is also a comedy, but I'm talking about a bottom of the barrel. He is not funny in the least. And he shot to some fame when he put out this special where he was kind of like making fun of America's fear of stereotypes. And at the time when he put it out, it was topical. Akash is Indian and incredibly proud of his heritage. He grew up in Texas, but has like a ton of ties to India. And he is a proud Hindu. And so he constantly talks a lot about the virtues of that religion and has set himself up not as like some moral authority, but has certainly on the show let it be known that he took his virginity very seriously, that he met his wife when he was 31 and she was 21, but they were both virgins. And that like basically he found this beautiful Indian gem who he married and who he's so proud to call his wife. She's just this beautiful, wonderful, sweet soul who is a virgin, and they just love each other so much, and it's just been this wonderful thing.
Also hadn't had any sexual partners, so that helped us connect a lot more.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you believe her?
If you've seen her, then it's hard to believe. Yeah. I remember I was just like, what? But she was like, she was 22, I was 31. There was an age gap.
He has had other people on the show where he's like actively shamed them for what he believes is not being a good role model, he's like, we say a lot of things on this show that are goofy and we're obviously joking over here, two comedians having a show, but he was talking to some guests on his show, and he was saying to them that the message that they have for young men is harmful.
And a lot of stuff you guys say in general, I think is stuff that's kind of childish. I saw a clip where you were like, oh, the nuclear family's falling apart. What do? I don't get married. Just don't get married. You're actually trying to help men, or are you talking to fucking incels who are 18 years old? That's some shit you say to college. I'm gonna turn you from a simp to a pimp. All right, bro. Can we grow up? You guys are self-help. Hey, we're trying to help men. So either we're funny or help men and be real and be honest with yourselves and don't have an ego like, no, I have a preference. Be honest. Let's just be mature about what we feel. And part of that maturity is, it was a bad joke. I don't actually feel exactly that way.
And I completely agree with what he was saying. Okay, so what's the drama? Well, the drama is that Akash has spent so much time hyping up his own romance and degrading other celebrities and other people whose relationships are on the rocks, or men who are like weak in their relationships, like Will Smith. He's often talked about and laughed about. He really hates weakness in men. Like, he's made that abundantly clear that weak men gross him out, and like, you need to step up, get married, have a family, support traditional values. And Andrew Schulz is also married, has a kid, is like his journey towards promiscuity, towards like more conservative values and traditional understandings of like how to be a father, like taking pride in that role. Like, their journey has kind of been for all to see, but all along the way, Akash has been like conservative values, get married, take care of your wife and all this. Unfortunately for him, he encouraged his wife to start becoming a content creator. And he seemed to believe that this would be a good way for her to use her time. He could not have been more wrong. And this girl is out in these streets destroying his reputation, undermining him as a man, talking about how much she hates being married to him, talking about how all she wants to do all day is sit around and be a princess, that she is a stay-at-home wife, not a mom. They have no children, even though they've been together for like 10 years. And she met him in 2015 at a comedy show. So they've been together for a really long time. It's been 10 years. And she has not worked a day of her life since getting to be with him. Now, when she met him, they didn't have the money that they have now. He was a struggling comedian and he'd just gotten on this podcast and everything. But she must have seen that this older guy who was interested in her and she thought he was attractive and she wanted to be with an Indian guy. She must have seen that he must have some promise because he was linked to people she'd heard of before. And so she decided to hitch herself to his star. Let me tell you how this girl should never have been online. There are some people where it's like, dude, you need to turn the internet off to your home. You need to get your wife a flip phone. She can't handle a smartphone. And that would be this girl. So she's come out and she is with a friend of hers and they have launched a podcast. The podcast is called Main Character Podcast. And if you don't know what that means, to be called a main character means that you think the whole world revolves around you. And they are unapologetic about it. So this is the intro to their show.
Welcome to our first official episode of the Main Character Pod.
We are back.
We're back. We're so back, baby. What is the main character pod?
The main character pod is for the girls that know they are the main characters in their life.
Period.
They are unfiltered, unhinged, and at times they crash out because they don't give a fuck about what other people think about them.
The only role you play in life is lead. Everyone else, side characters, props. if anything.
Exactly. Also, she's hyper feminine, but sometimes she has to pull her dick out and be like, you're not actually gonna fucking talk to me like that.
I am not sure who wants to tune into this hot mess. I am asking you. I have no idea who wants to watch this. I have no idea who would be like, you know what I really need? I need Akash's wife to tell me about how she is the star of the show. But if only that was what she was doing. If all she was materialistic, but she like loved him boldly and everything, that would be one thing. She is out here talking about her wild, raunchy, nasty sex life before ever meeting him. And she has opined about her college days publicly. And there are videos of her talking about how she reminisces and she is so nostalgic for the days when she was in college. You guys, she graduated from college in 2016. Okay, so a good 9 years ago. Who is still over here like weeping into their pillows and being like, I am so nostalgic for the day when I was just running in and out of frat houses with a whole litany of guys that I would just like rotate through.
I get so painfully nostalgic for college. So for context, I went to college from 2011 to 2016. I was popping my and living my best life in these white boy frat houses, and I had a roster of guys that I would rotate through.
And I want to play a lot of the things she says, but the girl's filthy. I mean, I'm talking filthy. Any manner of topic that you would not want being said, she's talking about it openly, unapologetically, blatantly. All the nasty sexual stuff. Everybody is talking about how, like, Akash, you've been lying. You've been saying that she is this beautiful, sweet, virgin girl, and you guys gave each other your virginity, and it's like this beautiful, lovely Indian love story. What are you talking about? She has told you a bill of goods about who she was. But he's still out there trying to defend her. He's coming out there being like, no. You guys just don't get her brand of humor. She's hilarious. These are her telling jokes. This is like so funny. This is like amazing that she's this funny. I'm like, Akash, we know you're not funny, but I thought you could at least tell when somebody else was being funny. Apparently not. The other thing that has people whipped up in these streets is the fact that she wants all of his money, constantly talking about the expensive gifts she wants to get, how the only thing that needs to happen all day is that she's treated like a princess. She has said that she does not like his birthday because she has to be nice to him that day, and it's like such a pain in the ass to be nice to him all day long. And
the worst day of the year for me is
Oh, I know this. Go.
tax day.
No.
It's Akash's birthday.
And I feel it because she's being nice to me all day. And by like 10 p.m., I can feel her getting just like, I'm so ready for this to be over.
Why?
It's like I turned
don't-
back into a pumpkin at 12:01, May 5th, and she's so relieved that she gets to be mean again.
Okay, May the 4th is Akash's birthday, and every year I dread it because I have to be nice.
the thing is that it's not like a bit that they do sometimes. This is their whole relationship. The way he talks about her on stage is he's always this put upon guy who's got this princess for a wife, and he's like laughing through it and everything. Like, I can never do anything good enough for her. She's crazy. She like, it's, you know, I buy her this gigantic 7-carat ring and she's like wondering why I didn't also get her flowers. It's insane. But I don't know if he likes to always be put down by his wife. I don't know if he's got a thing where that is a turn on to him, to have somebody who's constantly talking at him and demeaning him and acting like it's just not good enough. I don't understand why he would need that, because he has also historically constantly talked about how he was incredibly insecure. He's on the shorter side. He was chubby in high school. He had crooked teeth. He thought he was ugly. No girls ever liked him. And his wife is unbelievably attractive, like crazy pretty. And so I'm sure that it was a feather in his cap to finally get the pretty girl when he'd spent his whole life feeling ugly. And it's like he feels like he has to spend the rest of his life kind of doing penance because he's the ugly guy that got the pretty girl. So he's just got to be a doormat his whole life, you know, because why does he deserve the pretty girl?
My wife is objectively gorgeous. Me? No. So that's what you got to do. I got to work my ass off, and then every time she starts looking at me and she starts assessing my beauty, I just throw a bag at that bitch. Chest pass.
all of this is possible because you told me I could do anything that I wanted. And the best decision I ever made in my entire life was to marry this woman right here. Whose birthday it is in 2 weeks. And I love you so much, and the only regret that I have is that I only got to marry you once. So I want to make a little quick announcement that we're going to get married again. We're going to renew our vows in India next year. Do you all want to come to that? Does that sound fun? And since I am renewing my vows, I think the only thing you can do is propose again. Oh! Ghislaine, sing. Will you be Ghislaine Singh forever?
Ghislaine Singh, will you be Ghislaine Singh forever?
Again?
Yes! Oh my god!
Take that drinky thing off. That drinky dink.
Did you guys know this? Yes! Oh my god! How big is this?
Big enough for you to shut up every time I tell you to.
Thank you so much! What do you say?
Peed on Courtney Mustard. You were sitting in her lap.
When I tell you, this is the most damaging thing I've ever seen. His wife is literally on her podcast with her friend, talking to her friend about how hot she thinks her friend's husband is. And you're like, wow, this is really embarrassing. I really hope Akash never finds out.
I'm actively trying to have an orgy because this couple is so good looking, and you haven't seen Nav yet, but wait till you see him. His body goes crazy. His face card always slays, never declines. And it's kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband.
No, I kind of love it, but I'm like, us for it? Okay, maybe.
They pan over. Akash and the husband are sitting right there. It's all four of them having a conversation. And in this conversation, she will not stop talking about how hot she thinks the other guy is. And can I just say, let's look at this picture. Akash, why do you look so subservient? Why are you letting the guy over here, like, fill up the room with all of his big man energy? Okay? Why are you letting your wife talk to you like this, and you're over there sitting cross-legged on the couch like you're trying to minimize the space that you take up, and you're just like sorry for even being alive? Stop it already. You know? And I think the broader thing here on the conversation is everyone is appalled at the way she's behaving. Like, everyone's immediately like, that's crazy behavior. She cannot talk like this. Like, how can she do this to this man? And everybody is demanding in the comments of their podcast, address this. Why is your wife out here like this? This is crazy. Get her off the streets. And there's a lot of really negative and nasty comments about this girl. She is kind of a negative and nasty person, so it's not surprising that people would be rejecting what it is she's offering. But I think the reason I bring this up is it really flies in the face of the idea that you can behave however you want and the world just has to accept it. You know, there was this whole culture where it's like, we don't slut shame. Okay, you can do whatever you want, however you want, wherever you want, and no one can tell you boo. The problem is that the world will tell you boo. Okay, the world will be like, what the heck are you talking about? Why are you talking like that? Why are you being so nasty? Like, why are you saying this stuff? It's not cute. It's not like, oh, edgy. It's like, girl, you're nasty. Your mouth is like an open sepulcher. Like, shut it down. The world knows that's not what we want. And I think that for a culture that has constantly tried to tell women, you can be exactly like a man. You can be nasty. You can be overly sexualized. You can just put it out there. You can talk about nasty stuff. Just run your mouth, swear words, crass, crazy, whatever. You know, you take your energy and you do what you will with it. Who can tell you? No man's going to tell you. Unfortunately, the men are telling you. I think it's just like we have lived in such a false reality for so long on so many topics. It's like, you know, this is the same thing as when they had the body positive movement. And it was, you can be as big as you want. Everyone has to accept you. You're healthy at any size. You can be 400 pounds. Who's to tell you you're not healthy as you fall down with a heart attack? And it was just this complete and total rejection of reality. You know, I don't think that I want to live under any constraints. I don't want to watch what I eat, and I want to just be a wild person out in the streets. I'm going to do it all, and you have to accept me. And we had this whole narrative that said you can do whatever you want and everyone will accept it and it's not a big deal. But the problem is people don't want it. You know, they don't want to see a girl sitting there just running her mouth, talking nasty and crazy. Beautiful girl, gorgeous. And she's just like, It's so objectionable.
Kind of weird because I'm talking about your husband. That Nav's dick is like at least 10 inches.
You would only be down for an orgy for
Or it's thick. It's thick.
Look, she could be an ugly girl and would still be objectionable. You know, it's nasty to see somebody talking like this. It would be nasty if you saw a man doing it, but I think this is the lie. Feminism would have had you believe that you could live however you want and it's going to be fine. If the men are going to be pigs, girl, you be a pig, which never made sense to me because I used to always think, and I think to this day, but if I don't like it when men are pigs, why would I want to be one? You know? But here we have a complete display of the truth. You can't be nasty and everyone just has to accept it. It's gross. And there are certain values put on the holiness of marriage. You know, it's like we live in this world where people are like, you know, if you want to open up your marriage, you just want to do like threesomes and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, you just do that. You know, it's like what you want to do is what you want to do. Meanwhile, we have this girl who's sitting on a couch constantly saying to her friend's husband, what if we, hey, that's nasty. And everyone's like, what the heck is she saying? We don't actually live in a post-moral age. And that's a comforting thing. Like, it truly is. Like, watching people openly react in horror to what this woman is doing and saying comforts me. Because I want to live in a world where I can see that and objectively we're all like, what? Are you seeing this? I want to live in that world where we know that Akash's wife is out to lunch crazy. And I want to live in a world where we're watching all these celebrities who are finally being like, hey, you know what? I've been unhealthy and I want to lose weight. We all knew it was a lie. This whole idea that the body positivity movement, you know, everyone's healthy at any size, that was a lie and we knew it. And now we're seeing all of these celebrities come out and lose a lot of weight. And you can have a conversation about how these people are losing the weight. But the idea that they want to lose weight, that the aesthetic to be giant is not actually the aesthetic anybody wants. Finally, we're coming back. The pendulum is swinging back to something a little bit more normal. And I'm happy. There's so many crazy things that are going on in this world that we can just have a pendulum swing a little bit towards something that feels a little bit more like, all right, we're all on the same page, right? Okay, good. That feels nice, you know? Who knew that it would be Akash's wife that would join us all? All right, let's talk about some more drama. Big fat drama over there at the Miss Universe pageant, okay? And I'll be quick about this because I don't know how many of you care about this. You probably didn't care about the last topic either, but that's fine. Granted, I'm not a pageant watcher. It's obvious I was never in pageants, but I don't think I have the class, the dignity, and the grace. This Universe pageant was so bonkers this year that there's a lot of people talking about it who probably normally would not have. So it all started out where all the girls come to Thailand, right? Thailand is the hosting country. And in one of the first preliminary activities, they're all gathered together. They all look amazing in their gowns. And the organizer is having a conversation with all the girls. And he's real angry because Miss Mexico has not been posting about how awesome Thailand is according to how he believes all the girls should be doing on their social media. So he had a certain number of things he wanted the girls to post about Thailand and how Thailand is so awesome and the people of Thailand are so great and thank you for hosting. But she, under the branch of the organization that was hosting her there, had told her, you know, we want you to post this and don't worry too much about this. Let me just say that from all reports, the situation in Thailand and the hosting of Miss Universe in Thailand was unbelievably chaotic. It was very disorganized. No one really knew what was going on or what they were supposed to do or what expectations they were supposed to fulfill. So Miss Mexico gets, put in front of the firing squad. And in the course of this conversation, the director calls her out and tells her to stand up and explain herself. So she tries to do that. And then he must have told her to sit down. You're seeing lots of choppy video from this. But at another point, he's continuing to talk about it. He says, you're a dumbhead if you won't post this kind of content on your social media.
If you follow the order from your national director, you are dumbass.
Well, she doesn't care for that kind of language, and so she's still standing up, and he's like, sit down, I'm still talking, you're not talking when I'm talking, why are you still talking, why are you even standing up, what are you doing? And so it's this embarrassing exchange between the two of them. She's like, I am a woman, and I have a voice, and I'm going to talk if I want to, and then he calls security on her, Well, then she leaves before security can get there, and all these girls rise up in indignation, and the former Miss Universe is also like, what in the world? No. And so they come out. Miss Mexico comes tearfully to find the first reporter she can to assure the Thai people that she loves Thailand, she loves the people, but that guy of yours over there, he called me a dummy.
I truly love Thailand, but what just your director did is not respectful. He called me dumb.
And so it's all drama. All right, we progress forward. Folks are not able to stay on the stage. We've got this girl falling straight off the stage, having to be ushered into the hospital. Apparently, she's going to be fine, but incredibly embarrassing. It's time to announce the winners. Well, lo and behold, who should win? Miss Mexico. And it was Miss Mexico against Miss Thailand. So people felt instantly as though something had happened and that the votes had been rigged. To compound people's assurance that the vote was rigged, we have footage of this particular judge looking none too pleased. I mean, just completely deadpan. And even if she had not voted for Miss Mexico herself, typically all the judges will celebrate and clap upon the announcement, goodwill, even if that wasn't your choice. It's usually not a unanimous choice amongst the judges. But the majority won. But this girl, she can't even summon the energy to pretend to be happy for Miss Mexico. Then 2 judges resign over it, saying they don't want to have anything to do with this again. One of them said that the judging was rigged and he was disgusted by it. Another judge left saying that he had personal reasons, so, he just couldn't do it anymore. And I just want to be honest with you. Well, I think that Miss Mexico is beautiful. I don't know if she was the winner. But how can we know? We can't know because, they used to be really transparent in the tabulation of the final scores. They don't let us know that anymore. They don't let us know how they came to the conclusion of who got what, according to which. We don't know. In other drama, let's talk about how Jack Schlossberg is now trying to run for Congress. Well, what's the problem with that? You say he's a Kennedy and they all run for a public office at some point. What's wrong with Jack? What isn't wrong with Jack? Jack, if you'll recall correctly, is a person who spends his time on Instagram doing this kind of thing. And this kind of thing.
Everybody get down if you feel me. Put your hands up to the ceiling.
Are you sure you want to close the border? Because then you're stuck with me and my army of little freaks.
Let's not forget this.
Dear President Putin, every child shares the same quiet dreams in their heart, whether born randomly into nation's rustic countryside or magnificent city center.
Okay, so he is a big clown. He is the clowniest of all the clowns. He's the king of Clown Town. Now, he's also out in these streets in New York City, riding around on a bike, trying to parody his uncle, JFK Jr. And if any of you guys were with me when we read Ask Not, you would beg and plead that he not try to mimic his uncle. JFK Jr. was possibly one of the most embarrassing members of the Kennedy family, although he looks like he really had his act together when you look over at Jack. The sad thing is Jack's sister, I think, has just been sentenced to terminal cancer. She just got this horrible diagnosis, and he's out here on these streets trying to run for Congress. We have reports that his mother is desperate that he should not do so, that he's already just completely beating the Kennedy name and the Kennedy Association to death with his antics online. And yet, he thinks that it would be the appropriate thing while his sister is dying of cancer to ride around on this bike trying to parody his uncle. Because that'll really get him elected. But then, it's like, who couldn't run for Congress right now? Look at some of these clowns in Clown Town. I mean, really and truly, I feel like at this point, if you're an intelligent, fully functioning, mentally well adult, Congress is nowhere for you. Now, that's not to say that every single person in Congress, is a terrible person. I don't mean to paint with too broad a brush. All I'm saying is we got some basket cases up in that place and far too many of them. My last story is that Campbell Soup is in major trouble. This is coming right before Thanksgiving, when there's lots of people who don't typically purchase Campbell Soup products, but might reach for a can of cream of chicken or cream of mushroom for the base of some recipe. Lots of those old-timey recipes that we all think of as traditional utilized Campbell Soup products. So it's really unfortunate that this exec would be caught saying these hateful things the week of Thanksgiving, especially when this is probably when they make their most money. But he was caught on tape, and I kind of think it's a little bit strange that he was caught on tape saying any of this, because the guy who recorded him went into a meeting thinking that they were going to discuss his salary, and then he sat there for an hour and a half while this executive completely went on this rant about how terrible the company is and how it's like the grossest company of all time. But my question is, we're kind of getting this out of context. The man is not gracious in his comments, but is he telling the truth? Because he basically says that the company sells shit to poor people, and that he wouldn't be caught dead eating any of these products now that he knows what's in them, and that it's bioengineered meat, and he wouldn't be found eating any meat from a 3D printer. Okay, the man might be a little bit spicy in his delivery, but is he not telling the truth? You know, it's like people are like, this guy needs to lose his job. Well, or maybe he's just finally had it and he doesn't want people to be consuming trash and he thinks that they should be giving poor people better than this. Now, here's the thing. Probably the guy's just some crusty exec who is as mean and as hateful as everybody wants him to sound, because it's more exciting to say that this guy was just this unhinged lunatic screaming. But you guys, did any of us ever think that a can of chicken noodle soup that's been sitting on the shelf for maybe 7 years is like the greatest thing you could eat? Was there anybody who was like, man, he really wrecked the legacy of Campbell Soup? Because Campbell Soup is a product that's been there for a really, really long time. I don't think anybody reaches for it and is like, this is a healthy option. I think we know that it's canned food that is probably full of like all kinds of preservatives and subpar ingredients. Maybe he just told us the truth. People can't handle it. Not the truth. God, not the truth. Oh, wait a second. I do have one other thing I want to talk to you guys about. Now, I've seen Tyra Banks chatting on and on about this new endeavor that she has in Australia. Now, look, Tyra Banks has, flirted with sanity for a while, and so does it surprise me that she's gone off the deep end? Hardly. But I would say that her endeavor in Australia is probably one of the most deranged things she's done, because she keeps talking about how she has this ice cream shop and it serves hot ice cream. But when you try to figure out what that means, there seems to be no definition. She says it isn't hot chocolate, which I'm like, I didn't think it was. I just need you to tell me what is hot ice cream. But she keeps telling, it's hot ice cream. It's hot ice cream. It's ice cream that is hot. I'm like, still don't get it.
I've been working on making it hot for a year. And no, I'm not talking about me in a swimsuit in the 90s, although damn, I was hot. I am talking about hot ice cream. Something that has not been done before. I ain't talking about a latte. I'm not talking about a flavored hot chocolate. I'm talking about hot ice cream. I made it hot, as in hot cream, hot ice cream, liquid, warm, soothing, yummy, silky. And check out that fairy dough deep.
Anyway, she was really melting down the other day because the freezers broke and now all their stock has been ruined. But she got the freezers back up, so she wanted to let everybody know. And then she also wanted you guys to know that there's a price point for each of these ice creams, and she's got a couple of different collections. And she goes on to say that there is a collection of ice creams called Comfy. And these are your nostalgic flavors, your chocolate, your strawberry, your coffee, and that these are creamy and delicious, but something you can afford. And then she's got a couple of other collections on the shelf. This would be the Yummy collection and the Dreamy collection. So save your pennies up for that. You can have some of that hot ice cream. Hopefully our freezers don't go out again. But what is wrong with Tyra Banks? Who was helping her here? Did she have a marketing team? Who greenlit this project? So I just think it's crazy that she's over here having ice cream, but she also wants to act like it's a clothing line with a couple of different options for a price point. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for hanging out. Bye.